hello everyone, and welcome to the Magickal Witchy World TV. I am Star Ravenhawk, and my partner in crime, Rhonda, is away tonight. But we wanted to welcome you all here tonight to and have our magical guest from what is it, Witches After Dark at San Diego Comic Con. So we have Judy, you want to go first?
Yes, hail and welcome, Judy and Nock, the Witch of the East. Tonight, broadcasting live from the Midwest, coming in from Chicago.
All right, and Jason.
My name is Jason Myers, and I am coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And looking forward to reuniting with my Coven housemates here, talking about the great time we just had out in San Diego at Comic-Con.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Patti.
Yes, I am coming to you. I am representing every witch in the West. I'm coming to you from Hollywood, California. Actually, right under the sign, under the H, a little to the left.
Oh wow, that's awesome, awesome. And you guys know I'm here in New York City, okay? So I'm here representing us over here. With Judy from the East, right? But you're in Chicago right now.
Yeah, so we are spanning the country in this live stream. We have got it covered from coast to coast, and then Jason and I handling everything in between. So
Awesome, awesome. And I wanted to kind of get you guys experience how you felt at Comic-Con in San Diego with us there. So maybe one at a time, you guys can give a little bit of what you thought. You want to start, Patti?
Okay, sure. It was the best. It's so funny. Comic-Con's always, well, I do a lot of conventions and things, but Comic-Con is one of those, it's weird because it's not even necessarily our witchy word. It was one of those, the holy grail of conventions, and I've never even been before. I tried to go before and couldn't even get in, and to be able to be a speaker there, to be a panelist there with witches, to being witchy, I was like giddy as a schoolgirl from the time Judy first called and beautifully put this together till
Yes,
it continues.
absolutely.
Yeah, it continues.
What about you, Jason?
Well, I'm an alum now. I go way back to last October with
right.
you guys
Yes,
when we did Comic-Con New York City style. I had an awesome time at both of them, but we were all contrasting. The three of us that were at both of them were contrasting the differences in vibe between New York and California, and it's cool to experience both sides of that spectrum. But it's to sort of build on what Patti was saying, like I love the fact that we're unexpected there, and that was so cool that Judy brought us into their world because, we're all used to preaching to the choir at pagan gatherings or whatever, but I wouldn't call it mainstream. It's still like hardcore geek culture.
Right.
But it's not a pagan gathering per se.
Right, exactly.
When I asked in the audience how many witches were there, a lot of hands up. So it turns out there is a good crossover there. It just took Judy's and your idea to sort of shine a light on that.
Right. That was awesome. Judy, what about you?
yes, I do give Star a lot of credit because I felt that when we first gathered the Witches of the Dark, Witches After Dark for New York Comic Con, it felt very much like a breakthrough, like a triumph. So I had been a fan of these conventions for many years. I had gone in attendance for many years, and I had this idea of bringing our witchcraft to this much, much larger audience. I think in 2024, when we were there were over like 150,000 people that attended New York Comic Con. And after you do something like that, it does kind of beg the question, like, what's next? And Star had said to me, well, we should do San Diego. And at the time I thought, well, that might be hard to do. But the thought never left me. And so I thought, so how would we go about that? So I didn't want to just recreate the same thing we had done before. So it has to be relevant. And so I thought about this idea of geography and having, witches from the east and witches from the west, and really have an opportunity to explore all those nuances in this international celebration of popular arts and culture. And so
Right.
it was just amazing. I can't believe we did that. I just like, I can't believe we did that.
Hey man, we manifested, which is awesome. I am
Mhm.
so glad. And yes, I am one of, I guess, like Jason said, alumni, because we did New York and then we did the San Diego. And I am so proud of us actually, because like Judy said, we said what next? And and I said, let's try San Diego. Why not? Give it a try. And she did. And we manifested it together, with her doing all that. She did an amazing job planning us from all the way through,
Oh,
from beginning to end, the Airbnb, everything. She really, I have to commend her for that and thank
yeah,
her for that. She did
Our
a
coven
wonderful
house.
job. Yes, we called it,
yeah,
what was it again? The Coven House?
The
Coven
coven,
house.
yeah.
it was perfect.
The
Absolutely.
Coven House Airbnb that we had. So it was really awesome. But what we wanted to try to do is kind of give you guys some of the ideas of some of the questions that, and I know we put out the video for you guys on our profile so that you can see it and view it. But maybe you'd want to hear some of what we thought additionally to some of the questions that we were asked. So, what do you guys think about which one should we start with first? Is that what does it mean to be a modern witch?
I love that one
Yeah.
because today was a perfect example of what it means to be a modern witch. So it is taking these energies that are very, very ancient, that really connect us through time, through our common humanity, and keeping that relevance alive. I was very, very blessed to have been invited to co-facilitate a ritual last night at a beautiful, beautiful occult shop here in Chicago called Malloway Brothers. And what we focused on was a lot of how we feel this separation from like agrarian society, but we are not separated from it. It does not require our belief. It doesn't even require our awareness for that connection to be there, but the connection is so strong. So when you are acting in the world as a modern witch, you are not only aware of those connections and believing in them, but you are observing them, you are learning from them, you are also feeding them. And it
Right.
gives you like a heightened awareness of the wind, the tides, the sun, the moon, the stars, the grasses, the leaves, the creatures. And you see how we are all connected, and you see the importance of that, and you see the relevance in modern life. So I will forever be a proponent and an outspoken advocate for modern witchcraft, and that as a spiritual practice, especially.
Yeah.
It's more than an aesthetic. Like some people, I notice like kids today have really separated like witchcraft from the spiritual aspect of it. And I cannot do that.
Yeah. I don't understand that part. But what do you think, Patty?
Yeah, same thing, very much. We have it is a different world. The modern world is different than 10 years ago, let alone 20, 30, 40,
Yeah.
100, 200 years ago. And stepping into it and bringing our magic into everything from bringing real witchcraft, what we do, into everything from social media to these convention things that we're doing. Like, it could not have been better going into Comic-Con and having, and the fact that, oh my God, we had a full house. I was so worried because because the people behind it, there was a great thing before us, this pitch thing, and then
Yeah.
this big room with hundreds of chairs, and there was nobody there. The next one, I'm like, what if we've come this way? You guys, and the doors opened and it packed the house. The energy it's like, yes,
It
modern
was
witchcraft.
palpable, right? Yeah.
And we are we expect, and speaking art, and they were interested and they were engaged, as you were saying. And um I, I don't know how you would have ever even done that 50 years ago.
This is true. This is true. What about you, Jason?
I've been thinking about the role of modern witchcraft for a while. One of the things that I'm a writer, and one of the things I do is I write for the Cabot Kent Hermetic Temple newsletter. And each Sabbath we have a theme. And one of the themes I've been working on is writing, like trying to bring these ancient, traditions into a modern relevancy. And so it's relevant for me and hopefully for other people too. So for example, last week was Lunasa or Lammas, and a lot of people, myself included in the past, there's just like this element of role playing. It's like, well, this is the harvest fest, and then you have all these like these aesthetic things like, oh, here's a corn dolly and here's this and that. And I'm just like, okay, but what is it? How can that be relevant to me? Like, what is Lammas? Like, I've never made bread in my life, and it's there's this tradition around bread, loaf mass, right? So I'm like, I'm going to make bread. Like it was always so intimidating. And then I started looking at it and I'm like, I've done way harder stuff than this. There's literally 4 ingredients, but as I was going through that process, I was putting more spirituality into it. I was envisioning what the wheat in the field before it became the flour, and the wind going through it, and the sun and the soil and everything it took just to make that powder, and the salt that was taking the crystals from the earth and the water, it was so elemental. I'm getting shivers just thinking about it. And,
Yeah.
and the yeast, like that's the spirit, right? I mean, I still don't understand yeast like that. That's the magic. I'm watching this stuff rise and I'm like, okay, this is a spell. It's so simple. Everybody, so many people just eat bread every day. And like, I like this bread, but like to actually like put your hands in the dough, be part of the process. It all brought it home to me. And I was trying to think of how living intentionally like that can be applied to other things in life, just not just taking things for granted. Like, okay, I'm going to eat this. Like, look at what it was, a cup of coffee. Like, think about the farmer in Ethiopia or, in South America who harvested those beans and put their whole life into it. And like the journey those beans took and the sun, I'm going way off a tangent here, but I think it's just, to me, that's what makes magic and witchcraft alive. Isn't just reading from some dusty book and like saying some words. It's like knowing what you're putting into your body and feeling that energy and being part of the creation process. So
Absolutely. And it's so
I
funny
had
because sorry, what were you saying?
No, I just wanted to continue that thought form because I had an amazing experience last night doing ritual with an unfamiliar group of people, and I was there like as a guest, and one of the participants had brought bread that she had made using one of my recipes from my second book. So this was a
Oh
book that I
wow.
wrote maybe, yes, like it was probably written by me like 18 years ago. And the making of the bread was a requirement. It was part of my ordination and my tradition where you cannot call yourself a priestess until you have created nourishment from earth, air, fire, and water, and it becomes one of the altar offerings. So this is something that I've been doing forever. So I included it in the book. And so then like last night it was returned to me where now it's out there in the world and someone brought it to the ritual that I happened to be at. And they're like, I got this recipe from you. And I was like, I was so charmed by
So
that.
wonderful.
I was so charmed by that. So
that's
Well,
awesome.
I'm gonna follow in on that part with you guys on the bread, and I'll admit I'm not that person I'm not that domesticated person that in the kitchen with the baking of the stuff. So I have a bread machine. So I will put all the things in and allow it to do the magic. Like when they, remember with practical magic when they do bubble
that's
bubble.
the modern witch.
I'm like,
Bread
make
machine.
that magic.
Yeah.
That's as much as I'm gonna go, and that's very modern, right? But as we were talking about it, I started saying not just the accessible things that we have modern day wise to be able to celebrate our different holidays, our moons and our sabbats, but also we have to really, in thinking back, to standing on the shoulders of so many who have come before us, um, historically wise, ancestral wise, as witches, and claiming on who they are and coming forward. And then Patti, I think it's Patti that mentioned that they have. Oh no, it was Judy that mentioned that whole thing of separation from witchcraft to whatever else they want to call it. And we never did consider a separation. It was just we are witches, And I can't understand that whole thing of where it's kind of like, in a way, I'm not going to say, maybe I'm saying it in the wrong way. I'm not saying it's dishonoring. I'm just saying that we, if anything, at least say thanks to those who've gone before us, who did sacrifice a lot. They couldn't even practice in that come out of the closet. They had to remain in the closet back then. And we are on their shoulders now, coming out publicly and being able to practice without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of thanks to that, and learning, as people say, religions and spirituality evolves, but it's sad when some of it gets devolved in another way of where we're not honoring where it came from. You're taking it to somewhere else, and then you can call it whatever else you want to call it because you've taken it somewhere else. So I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts for me about some of the things there with that, and it's kind of, some of it's kind of sad to watch happen. But you know, such is life. Things evolve and they devolve. It's what happens in with humans.
Yeah.
Can't control it. But okay. So on to us, our other question, the identity. To what extent is witchcraft integral to your identity? So Jason, what do you think?
It's inseparable in my life, and it has been since the 80s when I started practicing. It's just, and I know from having spent time with you ladies, I know that you are similar in that magic goes into everything, whether it is making the coffee or, you know, whatever the case might be, saying a spell for a parking space, or, you know, or doing something a little more official, you know, like tonight is full moon, so I'm going to do an SBAT, right? Or doing tarot or whatever. It's just, I can't just turn it off and be like, okay, I'm going to go do witch stuff now, and now I'm going to mundania. For me, like, you know, I do art for a living, and I'm like, you know, in marketing and stuff like that, I bring my sense of magic into my work, into how I treat my animals. It's just a way of living more than a mask you put on when it's time to do this or that, you know.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
In other words, it's not a fad for like for some people,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. It's not a phase, Mom. You know, if she's waiting for me to grow out of it, then okay. It's been a few decades.
All right, Judy, what do you think?
I agree with Jason. I love the mundania. Is that what you?
No, best term ever. Yeah.
That was fantastic. So thank you for that. As far as how it relates to my identity, I would say I cannot extract it. And I have always felt that being a witch is something that you are. It's not something that you become. Maybe your witch self gets revealed to you through like certain changes or certain experiences or certain encounters. But when I discovered witchcraft, a lot of it was having names and words for things I had been doing anyway.
Yeah.
So it was very kind of like instinctual, and I can probably, you know, with all honesty, trace it back to when I was about like maybe 10 years old. Like I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I was doing. And then as I got older, I met other people. I was like, oh, you do that too? Oh, that's what that's called. So I feel like, you know, I make jokes about I call myself witch enough, you know, not too blind to see I'm witch enough. So that's part of my identity. Yeah.
Right. What about you, Patti?
Same thing. Since the 80s when I discovered witchcraft and everything, but long before that, I was talking to trees. I would be in my little suburban Los Angeles backyard, picking rosemary, putting it in my mom's wallet, putting things just like, well, this will bring you money, and this will. She didn't quite get that. It's like, no, that's dirt. No, this is not dirt. You know, and then and it's just part of who I am. From the going to bed at night, getting up in the morning, every part of what I do. I would be like a blob if I tried to take the witchy part away. I would be a blob sitting in mundania, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I think that's similar to watching people kind of separate witchcraft from whatever it is they're practicing, which I don't understand. But, you know, it's not for us to understand, it's for them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a very integral part of my life. It's, I mean, it's who I am. Just like with any other religion, because they put their religions very much front and center and let us know I'm a
Mhm.
Christian or I'm a Catholic or whatever else that they are. It's a part of who they are. And same thing with us, which some people have a hard time being or doing because of the way the world is right now around us, judgmentally so, and all of that. Um, I do have to say what I'm not. I'm not Wiccan and I'm not pagan. I'm just a witch. And that's something that's the only thing I'm going to ever claim that I am. I've always been that. And I've always been lucky to be not in the closet
Yeah.
of, when people say they've been in the closet or they're still in the closet and things like that, I feel um, you can feel almost like this gate around them that's stifling who they are. And it's kind of sad, because they basically tell you they can't be who they want to be. So that's kind
Mhm.
of sad. So I've been privileged enough to, um, I've not never been the person that would hide it. My mom is extremely, extremely Christian. So, we had to butt heads there. And she's always, Jesus Christ, blood all over you, blessing you and everything to try to save me. And I'm like, I don't know where you're saving me from. But, yeah. So she's not happy about that, but she's seen I've never left it since I was 17. So she has to deal.
But doesn't she see who you are?
She would say, but that's so evil and things like that. And I just kind of say, well, what do you think of me? She said, but you're different. I said, it's like a face palm. I
Mhm.
don't know how to tell her it any differently. Have I changed? No, but, and she goes into this whole thing. It's not, you basically cannot change how they think. With, and all I could say to her is, I'm happy for who and what you believe in, so you should just be happy for who and what I believe in. It's simple as that. And if you can't, well, que sera. I can't do anything about that. So, but I'm happy just being me. And she's always been trying to save me. She's going to one day realize when I'm 90 that she can't, although she might be dead by then, and trying to reach out for me through the grave. Who knows?
Or maybe she'll understand when she crosses. Maybe she'll get it finally that you're.
Maybe, right? That'd be so nice. Yeah, I doubt that though. They don't change. They don't change. Okay, so representation. What is your opinion about how witchcraft is represented in pop culture? What about you, Patty? What do you think?
Well, it's better than it used to be. I mean, we really are getting some. They're showing witches as strong, independent, thinking. People. I mean, it's still got the Hollywood, and I live in Hollywood. I'm not taking full responsibility for it, but they have to do the sensationalism that they have to
Yeah,
do for whatever reason. But it is so much better because, again, I'm in the movie Kevin, which we have to have you all there, guests at different times, for through going through the Satanic Panic stuff, or even these '70s I've been watching lately. It's like, why do witches have to be Satan and the same thing, and why and Hollywood just doesn't get it. But when they get it right, it's really good. They get it
yes,
right.
yes.
Like so much, even not saying they got everything right. It's a movie, but Sinners, I thought, was
I know, right? Wasn't that a wonderful movie?
such a
Oh my
wonderful movie.
goodness.
It's not just it is about witchcraft. This is vampires and zombies and everybody. But it's like, okay, they're starting to get it, and they're using more and more people. They used to would never really have a consultant on the thing for very many films, but now they do. So
Yeah, yeah.
I just say there's a long way to go, but it's getting better from my living in the middle of it perspective.
Right,
Mhm.
right. That's awesome. At least it's good to see that it's getting better. What do you
Yes.
think, Judy?
I love hearing Patty's perspective on how
Mhm.
it's getting better. I think what a lot of people kind of like revert to in pop culture, what first comes to mind is horror and sci-fi, right? So witchcraft is like it's supernatural, like it's portrayed like in the craft,
Yeah,
or it's terrifying, like from like the old movies, like Wicker Man, which like culminates in
I know, right?
murder. And like, sorry to spoil that or the Love Witch, again, very violent, or Blair Witch Project, very very violent. You know what I mean? And I feel that as like a practicing witch, I have definitely had supernatural things happen. And so I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I would like to see like a little bit more balance where a lot of the representations have this really, really strict kind of dichotomy where it's either like evil, ugly, old and green or sexy siren. And
That's
there's
it.
not a whole lot in between those. And those are like the only two. So my goal, like as a modern witch and as like a public facing witch, is to really, my highest hope would be that somehow I would be able to really like confuse people. So when they hear the word witch or they see like, the Mayfair witches or any other like, pop culture, like media offering that is centered or is referencing witchcraft, that they're confused, that they don't know what it's going to be, that they're not automatically thinking horror or they're not automatically thinking sci-fi thriller, that there's enough other representations of witchcraft that they don't know what it's going to be, that's not the default of evil, ugly.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? That's not the default thought
No, you're
form.
right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So I want confusion.
Well, confusion is
What could that
good.
be? Because you say witch, like it,
Well, confusion makes you think, hopefully. If you get
Yeah.
confused, then you
Hopefully, yeah.
want people to think.
yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right now, I don't know anything about people learning how to think right now. They're not very critical thinkers right now. So I don't know. We're kind of lost there. But Jason, what do you think?
Well, like Patty's got the Hollywood scene covered, and Judy's got the author scene covered. And my background is more in as a musician. In the music business, I've noticed, like I'm in a band called Icarus Witch, and one of the reasons I formed this band was, well, there's two reasons. My love of traditional heavy metal that was being totally ignored in the early 2000s, and my love of true traditional, witchcraft and actual like witchcraft. And those two things never, there was a lack of it, like if the bands were singing about witchcraft, it was the same as the movies and the TV shows. They'd lean on these lazy tropes. It was like burn the witches or sensationalized nonsense. And, my thought was like, I get way more energy and more chills from the reality of what witchcraft is, the deep, rich folklore. There's so many druidic stories to carry forth to new generations. So that was sort of how I looked at it. Was like I was tired of like hearing people sing about it just the same way that Hollywood was treating it. So I wanted to create a band that gave it reverence and that infused actual, witchcraft and actual lore into a hard rock heavy metal framework. And here we are 20 years going on 8 albums later, and it's very niche. I built myself into this niche, but like that's okay. It was more important to me to be true to that, and because that's how you sustain yourself for a long period of time, is like your belief in something. So we've covered a lot of how the media looks at things, and I think it all shows the importance of what we do at these conventions too, because we can't just expect somebody else to change the tropes and somebody else to, we are somebody else. We're for other somebody else's. So like, let's combine our desire to set the record straight and go out and like present, a more accurate face of what we do, and again, we're not speaking for everybody, but like we can at least show people, we're just normal folks,
Right.
and we're ambassadors to the craft, and that's how that's part of what I, as a priest, that's of the craft, that's what we do. We have to represent.
It's actually that kind of puts you so correctly saying it, because in a way, doing New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con is us representing it in that way. So that's kind of cool. But in terms of popular culture, I think it's actually brought a lot of things to light, and hopefully, like Patti was saying, bring people to be able to critically think about what witches really are. there have been some great shows. I like Charmed. I'm not crazy about Mayfair Witches and, Season of the Witch and certain things, because like Judy was saying, they make it more supernatural, where witchcraft is the most natural thing on the planet. And it's just like, for some reason, it's the reason I don't like the word occult being used to describe it as well, because it again suggests something supernatural, which it's not. It's very natural. But I'm probably the only one who don't like that word too much being associated with it, but I'm not crazy about it. But there are shows. I love Charmed. Charmed had a lot of great stuff there, and they did consult a witch in Hollywood on it, and they did put some interestingly real things into Charmed, which was great. And I did mention at San Diego Comic-Con that there is a series that was really well researched called Friday the 13th, before they were the guy Friday the 13th, the movies. And it made entirely in Toronto. And it is a fascinating series, and you should watch it because it has a lot of representation of different, there's witchcraft, voodoo, and a whole other series of different things that they have representing. So there's a lot there that has brought things to the front to show people, yes, we give you the theatrical part so you can make it interesting, but there are some real things to these things, and so investigate it yourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's out there. I mean, the music's out there, and I'm glad to say there's a lot more bands doing it now.
Right. There's a lot more bands out there representing. I think Judy has like 2 bands out there of her own.
Yes. And it's funny because as a practicing modern witch, most of my public facing work is in the books, which is very much subject to public interest trends in publishing and trends in our consumer culture. And it can be like really challenging to stay on the shelf. The shelf gets really crowded and then it gets really small. And I've seen it change so much over the years. When I started writing, we called it New Age. And then it wasn't called New Age anymore. Then it was called Mind, Body, Spirit. And then, and that changed too. There was different, it's the same stuff, but it keeps getting like rebranded and kind of repackaged. So we went from like New Age to Mind, Body, Spirit to Ancient Wisdom, and now I think it's landed under the umbrella of self-transformation.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
But you know what's strange about
that?
that?
Happening, and I don't even know it.
What I think is strange about that phenomena is, like at my local Barnes and Noble, for example, you've got the witchcraft stuff over here in this little shelf, and then there's religion. You've got this massive section.
I know, right?
And I'm like, well, it's a religion to me. Can't we have some space over here?
You're not going to see it that way ever. We're in the occult section. This is what I mean. That's why.
It's a novelty.
Right, exactly. We're in the occult section. That's where they put us. Yeah. Okay. So about culture now. This is one that's a bit toppy for a lot of people. And it's talking about culturally speaking. The icon of the witch transcends many different cultures. How do you feel about topics such as appropriation and syncretism, or potential threats to our religion's freedoms in today's polarized social climate? So I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on that. Jason, you want to go first?
No. I was hoping Judy went first before, I think, but
yes, she did.
It is sort of an uncomfortable topic, but that's good. Like, it's good to be uncomfortable because that means you're growing and learning and forcing yourself out of your old ways of thinking. All I will say on appropriation and witchcraft is, like, I'm learning how other people view it. I might not necessarily have viewed it through the same lens, but maybe that's because of where I came from. Maybe that's because of my cultural background. Maybe it's because of when I started practicing, everything was an amalgamation. Everything was, a little of this, a little of that. And that's what drew me into it. It never occurred to me like, okay, well, maybe that's some of that's not cool. Maybe we should pull that apart and give more more credit to where the different elements are coming from. So I'm trying to just pay attention and see people's points on it. And it was only within the last few years that I even heard the concept of a closed practice. And I'm thinking like, well, okay, well, this is closed and that's closed. Okay, I get it. You're trying to protect what is sacred to you. Then it made me think, okay, well, what's left for me? As does that mean I have to stay within German, my descent, Pennsylvania, Dutch, because I'm learning about it, but it's not what I practice, So I'm trying to just sort of keep up with the times and hear what people's valid concerns are, and also just sort of see where, like I said in San Diego, I think a lot of it has to do with just making sure that there's a reverence and credit given where credit is due. When that doesn't happen, then yeah, I would be pissed too if somebody, like in heavy metal culture, everybody started doing this. You started seeing and I felt like, hey, wait a second, we were doing, that's ours, and then I'm just like, that's ridiculous. Who cares, But I'm not trying to equate, something like that to downplay somebody's feeling of their culture being appropriated by any means. But, so that's my long-winded way of saying, like, I'm listening. I'm trying to learn as I go and hear what people's concerns are about it, and just do the right thing, and just be, and just listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds great. Judy, what about you, hun?
I think it's definitely a very, very important topic, even if it is uncomfortable, that we have an obligation to kind of lean into it and explore what is available to us, how much of it is based on intuition. And that's kind of the struggle that I have when, if you're an intuitive witch and you're doing things that come naturally to you, and then you end up included in a larger community that shares those practices, shares those beliefs, and you start to learn the history of it, crediting that history, even if it's not how you discovered it, right? Because frequently people will come to similar conclusions. And I think that's why like eclecticism and syncretism happens so often, because we look to ancient cultures and they all have some kind of seasonal observance, and they're all very, very similar. Many cultures revere a sun god. This is, quite a human thing. And so in our endeavor to become like expansive humans and inclusive humans, I feel that some people may, really want to cling to their individual practices and their individuality, and that is where they get a lot of their identity. And I think that's fine to say, this is for me. I don't want to share it. Where it gets confusing for me as a practitioner is when people publish about their closed practices. So you're giving me this information and I'm not supposed to use it. I'm not supposed to do anything with it.
Right.
And so I find that confusing. Like, but you wrote it all down, you put it in a book, and now I'm reading it and I'm referencing it, and now I'm the problem for. It's very confusing for me. So I don't want to sound like defensive. I'm trying to figure it out, and I should take a page from Jason and listen to valid concerns more.
Absolutely. Patti, what about you, hun?
Well, I agree with both of them. I don't think I could say it any better, but because I've always been very intuitive too. Like, I was a little kid making weird concoctions as a kid. But I just wrote a book on doll craft. So going into puppet and doll, but the research I had to do and getting to find where the credit is due, I took really seriously. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's like, okay, let's go to Japan, let's go to here, let's go to here. But it is confusing and it is hard, and I don't get it, because if I like, well, where am I from? And if I get my DNA, which we all can get our DNA now, I'm from everywhere. I don't have more than 20% from one part of the country, from the Middle East through all parts of Europe, through everything. It's like, well, where's my culture? I'm a mutt. You know,
Right,
my
right.
magic is kind of magic. I draw from everybody and everything. So yeah, it's a tough one. Still learning and aware and
Yeah,
respect
yeah.
is everything.
Yeah, and I agree with all of what you guys are saying. I also think that people also heard our video on what we said altogether. But as I left that, I kind of sort of came up with some other things because I spoke to some other people, and I could see where they're coming from with a few things. Um, One of the things they have a problem with that causes the cultural appropriation discussion that becomes uncomfortable is, from their point of view, they have been for centuries allowing people to learn their things, their knowledge, and spread it to people, whether orally or whatever it is. They don't usually write books about it. They do it more orally. And when they teach it to people, and people the outside of their races feel included, and that's all well and good. But then what they've observed over the years, those people will then take it, go write about books about it, don't credit them. Also, what they then do is, if that person, I'm going to say it for what it is. If a Black person tries to learn from other cultures, they tend to be excluded or not. And literally speaking, I've had one author, he's Asian, and he basically um, has indicated that blacks are not welcome in their religion, but yet whites are welcomed in theirs.
Wow.
And blacks are excluded from a lot of other cultural things, but yet everybody wants to learn from them and learns from them, and then takes it off and go writes books about it. And then, so yeah, in a way, they feel after a while like they don't even want to write a book on it. They want to kind of keep it for themselves and only wants to teach Black people now, because they just feel like they've been sharing their knowledge and either, like I said, not getting credited. They've been stepped on, they've been used, they've been kneed on, and there's a lot of things that they feel is not right about it. Um, and it's coming from their point of view, and I understand that entirely. I'm not foundational Black American, so I'm Caribbean born and Canadian. So, and like you said, Patty, I have a lot of different backgrounds, but I consider myself only Black. That's just me. Um, but I understand where they're coming from, because listening to other people speak and say they're not welcoming a Black person into their religion, into their part of learning, but they're willing to go and and literally state that their entire background of knowledge came from a lot of Black people, literally, and
Wow.
then say, but they're not welcome into my Asian religion or whatever it is. I think that's I'm not even going to say the word what I think it is, but that's what we see. And I think what has happened is cultural appropriation has become this whole privileged thing, and it is going to get complicated and uncomfortable, because privilege is a thing that we are dealing with. We're seeing it politically, we're seeing it everywhere. So I have to stand with them, because it's continued to this day, happening to them. And I could see why they feel trodden upon. And then to have other cultures say, well, we're holding on to ours. And I'm like, you pretty much got most of your things from Blacks.
Mm.
I don't care what you say. Pretty much every religion around the world, if they want to look at it, yeah. So you can't take from a culture and then turn around and say, well, I've taken it and then added a few things of my own culture, now you can't have it. So it's not confusing. It's just facts, and people don't like facing facts. That's
Mm.
just my thing of it. So I
You,
kind of stand with them with that, and I see where they're coming from with it. And it's reality check kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But
Star, you brought up something at the convention about reincarnation. What about that?
that I have to agree with that. And like I said it then, to me, I believe if you believe in reincarnation, we've been all here many times in many places. I've been called to many different things. It's all part of our DNA. But unfortunately, the construct of what humans have created, there's our DNA, and then there's the construct. It's kind of like saying the 1% was created as a construct, right? if you even have a drop of black blood, you're black, you're not white, or you're not whatever else, right? That's a construct that was created. So the constructs have created this whole thing politically. If we go back and we don't have any of those constructs in place, then yes, we can all say, you know, we would love to live in that land of, you know, reincarnation and all of that, and say, you know, because I believe in that part. I believe that all of it belongs to me. I truly believe that. Um,
Yeah.
but I can see from their point of view how things are in the constructs of the way, if a world is built for a certain race of people and everybody else, especially a black person, has to try to fit themselves into that built or create their own table or their own world with it, I can see why there will be a problem. I mean, if you were black, not white right now, and the world was created only for the white race in the way that it's built to succeed, you will be constantly trying to fit yourself into that table or in that construct of how they created, and you will always feel like you're being left out. That's just reality.
Yeah.
So the constructs of what we're dealing with right now in the world has created this whole thing of where you're sitting there with the reincarnation. It's a fact. It happens, and we've been here many times, many lifetimes, many races. But yet the construct of is playing more of a dominant role in our reality. So with all my belief system, and I basically am the kind of person who, as I guess older, I just don't care. Zero given. I just basically say it's all mine and I'm taking it. Whether you want me there or not, I'm going to be there. I don't care. But that's just me. But not everyone can do that. And they shouldn't have to be building their own table or building their own world construct of things to fit in. They shouldn't have to be fitting in. If everybody else is there, if everybody else is there just saying, I'm privileged enough where this is mine, and no other person is allowed to do that, then yeah, we have an issue. We do have an issue, and the cultural appropriation will become it's going to always be a bigger topic, and I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Reality. Okay. Yeah. That's always like a big topic that we step on there, right?
Well,
Okay.
that was very well said. I just learned a lot in that
No,
dialogue.
it's just that talking to people and hearing what they're saying and listening. Like you said, I listen a lot because I'm not foundational Black Americans, and I hear it, what they're saying, what they're doing. And when people look at me, they don't know whether I'm foundational or not. They, so they will treat me as such. And I'm looking at them like, I'm sorry, but you can't even lick my big toe. I'm sorry, but you can't even fit there. Bye. They're not in my world's realm. But that's just me. But not everyone can do that. And they should have the right to have that privilege of being in there without anyone saying anything or making them feel otherwise. But literally on a daily basis, they go through these things, constantly fighting to just have a small seat at the table. And that's ridiculous. Okay, let's go to the other topics. All right. So stereotypes. How have stereotypical representations of the witch affected you? Okay. Patti, you want to go first this time?
Sure. Well, I just think that, it's because of everything how we've been portrayed and everything along the way. A lot of the people I grew up with are still waiting to save me. Like, your mom over there, your parents.
Yes.
I don't need saving. I'm good on that. And people don't get it. But I'm really lucky because I do live in the West Coast. I live in Los Angeles. So it might be another quirk to somebody else. They get it. I'm in my world, in my mundania world, which I mean that I live in. That I don't live in it, but I live in it. I've fit. I think I've broken some stereotypes, except for the wearing the black part.
That is true. That is so true.
But that and it's just like I want to claim that. Yes, I like black. But I think when I travel, I have gone through shock. I mean, culture shock, going through different parts of the Midwest and stuff, and through some of the Bible Belt and stuff. I have people expect and stereotypes of things too. So I'm just
Yeah.
appreciative of where I am right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Jason, how about you, hon?
Well, I'm glad we're having this recap because I thought of one after the fact in San
Yeah.
Diego, and that was like, I'm the only dude up here, you know, like, so one stereotype is that a witch is a woman. And, you know, and I never think of that because I've just been a dude witch my whole life, you know, ever since I started practicing. So it seems so strange to me that anybody would think think that you have to be a certain sex or a gender, because that's not the reality I've known or built around myself. So so every once in a while that one will pop up. You're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you're a witch? You know, you mean like a wizard or a warlock or something? No, some people call themselves that. I don't know. I identify as a witch, and I have lots of other guys that are friends that are witches. You know, it's very common, but to the outside world,
Yeah.
maybe it's a stereotype that hasn't been broken. You know,
Right. That's an interesting thought too. I hadn't remembered. I know it's there. I just don't remember it.
yeah, because I was invited to another podcast just a couple of weeks ago. It was like men in witchcraft, and I'm like, why? You know, is there enough to talk about here? It felt kind of like, you know, why do we even have to have this? And then I started thinking more about it, and it was just like, you know, not something I'm normally into, like a men's group or anything, you know. But it was interesting. It was a different time then, because I'm not normally in a men's only situation where we talk about our role and obligation within the craft community.
Right. Absolutely. Judy, what about you?
I get met with fear all the
Oh,
time. All the time. People, it's either I would say the two like biggest stereotypes that I encounter are fear and
yeah.
ridicule. Where it's like, do you really think that you're really a
Yes.
witch? Or it's
Yes.
like, ooh, I've had even like setting up for Witches Fest last year. It was very public. Like we are out there in Astor
Yes.
Place on the
Yes.
street, and so I'm setting up my books, and I do like aesthetics. I like everything kind of a certain way, and so because of that, like I do attract people. People that are like attracted to the colors and the flowers and the candles. They're like, ooh, what's this? And I saw a woman come up, and she sees that word, modern witchcraft, and she looks at me. She goes, "You're a witch?" And I was like, I smiled and I said, "Yes, I'm a witch." And she almost like made a cross with her hands and started backing away from me in absolute terror. She was absolutely terrified. And I felt like really sad, like, because now she has this thought form of me that's probably not right, because I don't think I'm
Mm.
scary. And then I was doing a radio interview a couple weeks ago, and the person interviewing me was like just dancing around it, like wanted to ask and couldn't say the word, and it started. So you write books. Is there a theme to these books that you write? And I just thinking, I was like, they're about witchcraft, you know? And so I do get that fear reaction a lot. I think that comes from the stereotype, and then other people that just think it's silly, and so there's like the
Yeah.
ridicule that comes with
Or
it
the
too.
ones that want you to do a
Yeah.
trick on the spot to prove your
Yeah.
powers.
Oh yeah, like, are you gonna turn me into a frog, or it's just
Yeah.
something like
And
that?
it's so
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
I've
And
had
that,
people literally say, "So does that mean you're going to cast a spell on me?" And I literally look at them, and go, "It takes up energy, and I really don't waste my
Why would
energy
I
on
do
you.
that?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm not wasting my energy on you. Bye." Because I'm like, they just say such, you're standing there going, "You're an adult.
Yeah, like
You're an
like you would never
adult."
say that to another person. Like if you said, "Oh,
Right.
like I'm a firefighter. Oh, you're gonna put out my
Right.
fire," or like you're a teacher. Oh, you're gonna teach me something. But why are we expected to do this like performative justification of our
Right.
existence? Like,
Because
do other people get that? Oh, you're a doctor. You're gonna operate on me. It's like,
when I
no.
first started to apply for Witches Fest, to be in
Yeah.
at Astor Place, I had to go through the community board too. And one of the board members at the time literally asked me, "Are you guys going to have babies being burnt there?" And I looked at him because I'm thinking, he's gonna smirk, right? There
What?
has to be a smile coming. But he was so deadpan serious that I looked at him and I just turned away and I said, "Next question," because I was just like, "There's no way I'm answering this
Offended.
man. There's
Yeah.
You're an adult. He's older than me, and you're sitting there asking me such a dumbass question that I'm like, no, I am not even giving you that time of day."
The dark age is called. They want your
Next
mentality
question.
back.
I was just like, I think at one point when I did I had to go to them for like 7 years in a row before they allow me to say, "Okay, your grandfather, then you don't have to come back anymore to the board meetings." Which I was like, "Oh, I'm grandfathered in," and I didn't know. But I went through every year. It was always somebody with some stupid thing that they would say to me, that I'm like, I feel like I remember one time I was saying, I feel like I need to give you my firstborn for you guys to understand. I'm just like, I just couldn't understand some of the questions. It just seemed so arbitrary, but whatever. I think that it's a built-in fear. So they actually believe they can say those things to you. They actually believe that, those are the things that they see in the movies, that's what we really do. And I'm sitting there going, are you for real? As an adult, you're actually thinking these thoughts.
All the more reason, again, all the more reason this stuff that we're doing is important.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
dispel. We shouldn't have to waste our energy dispelling stupid myths, but
You're right. It just seems like, you're sitting there going, I'm not even going to answer your question.
Yeah.
But again, I brought that up about at the Comic-Con. I brought up about Satan and how they believe that that's what we always do. Not that there aren't witches who are Satanists or all of that, but it's not what we do. Or people associate witches with that, and it's not. So I think it's a naturally built-in fear, like how you said, Judy, that the person just said to you, "You're a witch," and and they started backing up, and the fear built in, and all of that, because they think of it as the occult, the supernatural, the weird, the whatever it is that they start thinking, bloodletting and all the different things that they think, and it's kind of sad because you're standing there going, "I'm just as much as you," and as a matter of fact. I shouldn't even say that because a lot of them think things that we would never think of doing. So, sorry, it's not. We're not you.
They're telling on themselves. They're telling
right, exactly. We're not you. Okay, you would do those things or whatever. You have to literally cross a line in the sand. That for me, certain things, if they cross a line in the sand, yes, I will take you down. I will hurt you, and I would bloodlet you. There's certain things I will not allow you to try to do that I know of, and that's hurting kids. In any way, shape, or form, I will lose it entirely. I will do whatever I have to do. But outside of that, I don't see what they're so fearful about. But yeah, they do have all these fears that are built in from people. And, again, a lot of times I have to tell them, please pick up a book and read at some point. It will really help you a lot. And I walk away. I just can't. I can't deal with stupid. I'm not very good at dealing with stupid. So
they would be so bored if they knew how excited I was about.
I know, right? They're like, that's what you guys do? Really? I want to get to the good stuff, the casting of the spells.
Right.
And I'm like, even that takes energy and time and everything. Yeah. They just don't understand, but it's okay. It's okay. All right. So the music and the movies, I think we kind of hit with some of that in some of the questions already, right? You want to hit on that some more. What is the influence of real witchcraft in music and movies?
I think we pretty much covered it, right?
I think we pretty much covered it. Okay. Then there's book and television. I think you guys want to mention anything about books and television or go on to activism and advocacy?
Yeah, let's go on. Because we remember I think we combined some of those questions.
Yeah, we did. Okay. So how can witchcraft make something that Jason said, just to really quickly, before we go on to the other part about activism and advocacy. When Jason mentioned the male witch, I think the reason that people think it's a female thing is because most other religions are all patriarchal. They all ran by men. Every single other bloody religion out there is a male-dominated religion. So when they talk about witches and they see that a lot of them are women, they just naturally think of it that way. And then you have men who have the male groups to show that they're witches too, because now they feel outnumbered in a way or not as represented. but it's not to us in general. Everyone is a witch if they of whatever gender. We don't care, kind of a thing. It's included. Whereas in the patriarchal world of religions, you would never see a female running become a Catholic pope. Okay. There was a Catholic priest female before in the past, but was there a papal a female? I can't remember. She got away with it or not, but or maybe for a short minute or something. But there are religions where they will never be ever represented. So yeah, I can see why people think it's a female thing, because
Yeah.
it's women empowering themselves. It's what the religion was meant to be, as something for both represented equally, and you don't find that in any other religion out there at all, no matter what people say.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you guys want to add anything to that? No? Okay. Activism and advocacy. How can witchcraft make a positive impact on the Medale world? Okay. So, Patti, I'm back to you.
Jason raised his hand first. I need.
Okay, I didn't see the hand. Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, like one of the things that I've gotten into really a lot recently is animal rights activism.
Oh, nice.
And I just was recently appointed to the board of an animal rescue called Misfits Coven, and I was drawn to this because this Misfits Coven is run by a woman who is a witch, and so it's pagan oriented, and they're saving animals from slaughter. They're giving, the misfits part, all these animals that people would leave left for dead. They got a home where they can be treated, with respect and cared for. I'm like, I'm all about that. That aligns with my veganism. That aligns with the harm none that I was so drawn to, that the Wiccan read when I was a kid. And so that's, to me, that all, again, it all just ties together, and literally in this case, because it's a pagan run sanctuary. So
right. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I split my time between that, and then I also volunteer with a company called an organization called Allegheny Cleanways, and we take trash out of the rivers, and we go through like underserved neighborhoods and get organized with the communities to help them clean up their areas where people aren't paying attention to, or they don't have the services to like remove the trash, or they don't know what to do with it. So we're just helping to basically clean up the environment. And again, to me, that just is part of my religion. It's a way of showing reverence for nature in a way that impacts the local communities, in a way that impacts the water that we drink, and the water that the fishes and the birds exist in. So the last few years, I've really been, just trying to get my hands dirty every week and dig in, like shoveling cow poo because this cow was saved, and like I feel really good about that, and I feel like it just ties in and makes me feel more passionate about my version of witchcraft, because the reverence for nature isn't just lip service. It's like, let's get out there and make a difference in our community.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Awesome. Patti?
Okay, I can go now. I had to move my cat. Sorry. No, activism and advocacy has always been a part of my life as well. I'm almost always on a board of a nonprofit of this, whether it's taking care of the city, the planet, our Hollywood Arts Council, where we bring art programs into elementary schools because they got rid of everything.
Yeah.
And that reading, writing, arithmetic scores went down because they got rid of art and creativity and everything, and they just don't get it. Yeah. So it's just always been a part of who I am since I could vote. And speaking of that, when they don't want anybody to be activism, and we have to think more than ever. We have to be involved because they're trying to take everything away from us.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
It's scary and it's sad. So now is the time to speak up. If somebody doesn't think they can do anything, we're the ones who can. We're the only ones who can. I mean, and any one person who does, we meaning anybody.
Yeah. Everyone, on the planet. Yeah. Judy?
So what Patty said is so important about us speaking up, and the time is now. The time to lift up, these veils of oppression. They're crumbling, and a lot of like the corruption that has been happening is now being laid bare before us. So that begs the question, like, what are we going to do about it? And voting absolutely. For my own part, I would say that my personal activism has always been centered around environmental activism. um, Last year I had the opportunity to kind of integrate that with music, doing like musical performances to try to raise money and awareness for people that are on the front lines fighting those court battles, standing up to big developers and things like that. So any way that we can contribute, magically with our myriad skills are so important, especially like um, I've started a composting program through my daughter's school that ended up going citywide, and now like New York City has grown with like municipal composting. So I
Yeah,
would say, like, don't be afraid of starting small. Don't be afraid
yeah,
of starting small.
yeah. New York
Yeah.
does a lot of interesting things with all those things, and people speak up a lot and front and center and everything. Um, but I think I had mentioned for me, again, and I like what everyone has said, and that we are stewards of this planet and
Yes.
guests on it, and we don't treat it like we are. We treat it like if we have the right and the privilege to be here, and we dominate everything and we destroy everything. Human beings just come off as, I'm sorry, they're not as humane as the name ad with the E on it at all.
Mm.
And I think we need to take a good look at ourselves and really critically think about who we are and what we are in the grand scheme of things. Um, I think that we are going to be handling a lot of food insecurity coming up and a lot of different things that's going to be happening. And if we don't learn to help with any of that, support um, certain types of farmers. I personally support the Black-owned farms because they have been without help from of any kind, even when they were doing that welfare bailout for the farmers um, before in the past. Um, those farmers obviously didn't see that there would be food insecurity now, and they voted a certain way, and now they're having a lot of food insecurity problems, and that's going to affect everyone. um, and these farmers have been through all of it, and they've been there, pretty much the backbone of the country with a lot of things, and I think we should try to support them as much as possible. um,
Yeah.
just in general with a lot of things, because Witches Fest that we create is we literally try to support City Harvest, which is for a food for all the food pantries in the city. We have them pick up dry good foods that we have everyone bring, and items, and we collect, and then the City Harvest picks it up to take to the pantries, and we call it hashtag Witches Giving Back in general. We don't say it's just from our temple or just from Witches Fest. We say it's from all the witches, so it's Witches Giving Back. We also support Feed America, and give money to that. And we also give money to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Those are our three places of where we consider it to be very concerning. Um, and so that's the ones that we've been sponsoring and working on for a long time. And um, if anybody can help in any way with in whatever ways that you guys form whatever things that you're doing, if you heard Jason, Judy, and Patti say the different things that they are doing, find your own way of doing it, because we are leaving too much of a carbon print on this planet, and we are not doing the right things. We are just not. And um, uh, just in general, I think we should learn to respect and truly show love for one another. Now, not the the one where we just kind of speak the words, yeah, I love you, and I'm going to work on this or whatever. We know it's not. It's all superficial. um you know but it would be really nice, because if we really respected and truly showed love to one another, we wouldn't have a lot of the political chaos that we've got going on right now, if it was really true. Just say, in general. But that's where we are with it right now. And I think that's what pretty much the wrap up of all the questions that we had at Which is After Dark. at San Diego Comic-Con. And I really appreciate you guys coming and giving other thoughts, because a lot of us forgot things additionally that we wanted to say there. And afterwards we go, oh, I should have said this and that. And we did now. So it was great to have that. And Jason, if you can show the poster, because I would love to see us if we have the poster that we would like. Because my own, when I put it up, the lights was hitting it too much. But we do have this poster that we would love to give out to anyone. If you reach out to us and let us know, we will ship it out to you. And it's entirely free. And it's of us at San Diego Comic-Con. Okay. No, it is not autographed, because we did not have the time to autograph all of them. But, at least you would have it. Okay. So reach out to us and we will ship it out to you. Thank you all so much. Ladies, Patti, Judy, Jason, please say any last words that you guys want to say.
Thank you for this reunion. It's great to see everyone again in a time that is not a time, in a place that is not a place.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And no, just this is it. This is modern witchcraft. We're sitting here on the. So thank you for this opportunity, Star. And again, thank you, Kevin, our new little Kevin. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you, Jason.
I want to do a plug here, not to be crass, but this is an example of what I'm talking about. It's a benefit show that my band is putting together to raise money for 3 local animal shelters. Awesome. It's called Animal Jam, and it's coming up on August 23rd here in Pittsburgh. But this is what I mean, like, just do it.
Do it.
I don't know how much money we're going to raise, but it's going to be more money than the shelters had before the event. So I just coordinated, just took a page out of Judy's book, just make it happen, manifest it, do the work, and get, and if you're excited about it, then I got all these other bands to like donate their time and their sets, and all these organizations are coming together and donating goods. So it's like, if people see you feeling sincere about it, that's a great way to use your witchcraft to actually cast a spell for good that's going to benefit animals. It's going to give these people that rely on donations to keep their sanctuaries alive. It'll give them a little bit of a breather for a night, for a couple days maybe. So that's, I wasn't doing that as a plug for my band, but just as an example to tie together everything we talked about.
That's wonderful.
Happy full moon. Happy Lionsgate.
Happy full moon.
Happy full moon to everyone.
Happy Lionsgate.
And we wanted to thank everyone that was in the chat. I am really bad. I'm the tech person tonight, Rhonda, who normally handles all of that. If you're there, I'm sorry I didn't say hi, but thank you from in the chat. If you're seeing it afterwards, thank you for doing that. And our guest next week will be Julie Stutzel. I hope I said her name properly, which is August 15th. And Rhonda and I will be back then. And see you guys next time. And take care. And thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.